Hello, good morning, ma'am. Srigala, ma'am, good morning.
Hello?
Oh, yes, ma'am. It's audible.
So audible? Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the screen visible now?
Yes, ma'am. Screen is also visible.
Okay. You can tell me when should I start? That others are everybody joined. Has everybody
Uh,
joined?
yes, ma'am. They'll join in due course, I think. We can
Okay.
start uh, with an introduction, ma'am.
Okay.
A warm good morning to all. Myself, Ben Thomas Umman, Assistant Professor, LBS College of Engineering, Kasargod. On 29 July, the fourth day of our FDP on advances on earthquake engineering, sponsored by AICTE and Adel Academy. I cordially welcome our resource person, Ms. Srikala R., Senior Principal Scientist at CSIR SCRC, and our beloved HOD Anjali ma'am, FDP Coordinator Radhika ma'am, all my colleagues and dear participants to today's session. Before starting this session, let me introduce our resource person, Ms. Srikala R., who has bachelor's degree in civil engineering from NSS College of Engineering, Palakkad, and further specialized in the area of structural engineering from NIT Calicut. She currently works as Senior Principal Scientist at CSIR SCRC. She was selected for the award instituted by Shakti Vijnana Bharati for the Best Technology Presentation of Paper in 2006 and was awarded Certificate of Merit from CSIR SCRC for the paper published during 2013-14. And she had attended the 14th World Conference on Earthquake Engineering, October 12-17, held in Beijing, China. She is an active member of various societies and associations like ISET, Indian Society of Earthquake Technology, ISTE, ICI, and ISC. Her area of specialization includes structural dynamics and earthquake engineering and seismic response evaluation and control. Okay. I again invite all of you to this session. Thank you. Now I hand over to Srikala ma'am for the lecture.
Yeah, very good. Good morning, one and all present here, and thank you for the introduction. So at the outset, I would like to thank the organizers, the authorities of the institution, and of course you all, because you have given me an opportunity to present before you. This topic, base isolation, is the one in which CSIR SCRC has been working for a long time. Of course, my seniors, even before I joined, they have made long strides in this technique, base isolation technique, in which the seismic response control strategies have been developed, because it is one of the measures of passive response control, and the product wise has been made. They had a collaborative project with Rubber Board Kerala, and the product has been developed. In fact, a patent also is there in the development of processing of this hysteretic material, this rubber material, for the development of these isolation-based isolators. And of course, after I joined, I was quite fortunate enough to be involved in some of the works which have been carried out, of course, regarding the base isolator testing and the seismic testing of structures. And whatever I'm presenting today is basically some of the works which have been carried out in SCRC, and some of the model provisions which are there in this field of base isolation, which is coming up nowadays. The IS 1893 Codal Provisions Part 6 is coming up, and it is under publication. And with this introduction, I would like to start the presentation. Of course, I hope you all enjoyed the session in the previous days. Our earlier head of the department, Dr. Satish Kumar, he has elaborately discussed on the topic seismic response control, and various mathematical principles behind that has been already discussed with you. And with those introduction, I hope the seismic response control systems is quite familiar to you. And there are many types of devices or external fittings which can be fitted into a structure, or even for newly constructed structures, these technologies or the strategies can be adopted. All these base control systems comes under the category of passive control systems. Of course, you'll be knowing in vibration control there are passive, semi-active, and active control systems, out of which what we are right now discussing will be on the passive control systems. Base isolators comes under the category of this passive control. Basically, they are vibration. They are called vibration absorbers. All of you will be knowing that earthquake is a sudden release of energy, and that energy has to be dissipated or it has to be absorbed somewhere within the structure, so that the damages in the structure can be limited to a certain extent. So that is the basic design principle by which we work on for seismic response control of structures. So this comes under the category of vibration absorbers. And if you see the ISO standards, it was there in 2001 itself. ISO 3010 talks about these types of response control system, which can be a combination of these isolators and dampers. And we can see this figure in which there are three categories of structures have been mentioned. Three categories. A indicates the response of ordinary structures. This is nothing but a response spectrum. This is not a smooth response spectrum, as all of you will be knowing, for a particular percentage of damping. If A represents the response of ordinary structures,
Excuse me, ma'am.
Hello?
Ma'am, please make full screen, ma'am. Slideshow.
Sorry, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. You're audible, ma'am.
Okay. Shall I continue?
Full screen, please, ma'am. Full screen. It is not coming
Yeah.
slides.
Okay, fine. Is it okay now?
Ma'am, it's
Great, ma'am.
not in full screen. Ma'am, is it possible to share the full screen? Can you stop sharing and press in the full screen? In that, you can do the slideshow. Present now in the Chrome window. There's a present now option.
Now the screen is visible. Is it full screen or?
It's not full screen, ma'am. Screen is visible.
Okay, now is it okay?
No, ma'am. It's still not full screen. Ma'am, if it is possible, can you make in the present now, there is an option to share the whole screen. Stop presenting and then share the whole screen.
No, it is showing stop sharing or hide. So
Stop sharing, and then in that present window, you can give share full screen. Present now, you can give the share full screen. Share entire screen. Present your entire screen.
okay. Is it okay now? Sorry.
It's not come, ma'am.
Yeah, it is showing sharing, but
Can you give okay, ma'am, when it's asked to in the pop-up window?
no. 1 second.
Ma'am, can you give the present now option again? Present the share screen, entire
Yeah,
screen.
your entire screen only I have given. Hello, that option is not coming.
Ma'am, now present screen is not coming, ma'am. Okay, okay, please rejoin, ma'am. And in that, there is a present option. You have seen that, right? Present your entire screen. A pop-up window will come. Oh, oh, okay. Okay, ma'am. Then it's fine. Can you rejoin? Uh, okay. Ma'am, can you rejoin and ma'am, can you unmute? You're muted now. Can you please unmute?
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible now.
Okay, I'll be continuing with this entire screen. Of course, I don't know what happened. Not able to share the entire screen. So, kindly excuse for that. And,
Try F5, ma'am. Once press F5, ma'am. I have tried.
okay, so this is the response control system description which has been given in the ISO standard 3010. And if you see the response of ordinary structures which has been represented in the category A here, and when you adopt seismic isolation, here it comes the category C, where isolators and dampers have been introduced so as to reduce the seismic response quantities in the sense acceleration or the drift or other engineering parameters of interest. So seismic isolation, there are so many other seismic devices which can be fitted into the structure so as to reduce the seismic parameters like accelerations, displacements, and other parameters. And you are all familiar with these kinds of devices, which can be which can come under different categories like passive or semi-active control systems. So the European standards have classified these kinds of devices into these anti-seismic devices. The representations comes under displacement dependent devices or velocity dependent devices, and there are elastomeric isolators. So what it actually does is when it acts like a passive protection system, when you have the base isolators within the building, it tries to absorb the energy so that it tries to decouple the superstructure from the substructure. So the decoupling process, in fact, it increases the time period of the structure, so that if you see the response spectrum, the force attracted or the seismic force which is a resultant of that elongation of the time period will get reduced. So that is the actual mechanism which happens in the case of base isolators. So the conventional construction practice assumes fixed base structures. The dynamic characteristics of fixed base structures are determined by the general characteristics of the structural system. So you will be knowing. So what is the difference which the isolator makes is that technically it changes the time period of the structure, so that the base shear which the structure attracts due to these earthquake forces are getting reduced. So if you see this figure, base isolation practices which has been there maybe from 1970s onwards, you can see there are different types of structures where it has been practiced in many of the other countries like Japan, China, and US. You can see these isolators are placed above the foundation. And this is a kind of industrial structure, a long span structure where these isolators are being placed. You can see how it is kept. If you see the comparison between the fixed base structures and isolated structures, you can see how it tries to reduce the response in the structure. The whole flexibility imparted by the isolator tries to absorb the energy, and as a whole the structure moves so that the other kinds of deformations are avoided in the superstructure, so that the crack formation or other model excursions in the building are getting reduced. So this is a communication center building in San Francisco, wherein these kinds of isolators are being practiced in 1998, or it has been implemented. So this is only a representation of the force shear strain characteristics of a typical base isolator, and with the addition of base isolator, if the response spectrum is like this, with the addition of base isolator, it tries to reduce the response. And you will be knowing in the spectrum there are different categories. The flat plateau represents, it's mostly like a velocity sensitive region or an acceleration sensitive region in the ascending part of this response spectrum. And when it comes to this region where it is mostly on the displacement sensitive region of the spectrum, there the isolation, if you implement the isolation, how far it is effective, all those things we need to understand before we go in for the practice of base isolation. So many of the times the practice of base isolation with a higher damping will be mostly beneficial, and a judicious judgment of the isolation, base isolation practices has to be done even before going in for the actual implementation. So the requirements of a standard base isolator, if you see, they remain stable for maximum earthquake displacement. It provides increasing resistance with increasing displacement. So many of the structures, if you see, large part of India is prone to moderate or severe earthquake shaking, and there are many critical infrastructures built in these regions. So an earthquake resistant design, it has to be an earthquake resistant design is very much essential. But the choice of base isolation need not be quite helpful in certain part of if you see, if you classify the structures in terms of the time period of the structure or in terms of other characteristics, a judicious selection of these practices has to be made before going in for actual implementation. So in those cases, a combination of isolators and dampers will be quite helpful. So requirements of a standard base isolator is that it has to be stable and have limited degradation under repeated cycles of earthquake load. If you take this is as per the FEMA guidelines, Federal Emergency Management Agency, that is FEMA guidelines. Our codal provisions, earlier codal provisions were taken from this NEHRP and FEMA guidelines. So if you take the actual behavior seismic response of a structure, when you provide this base isolator, what are the characteristics which we need to be, which has to be clear before we adopt these kinds of strategy? They are the maximum and total maximum displacement of the isolator, which includes not only the static displacement, the dynamic displacements are of interest. Then the hysteretic energy dissipation characteristics of the device as such. This is the flexible region or where the isolator has been kept. So in such case, the isolation system capacity and the earthquake demand has to be harmonized. In such cases, the capacity of the isolation system is identified in terms of its energy dissipation characteristics and its ductility characteristics. So when you go in for earthquake resistant design, there are three parameters in which we will be interested. One is the ductility, then the energy ductility characteristics, over strength, and the other energy dissipation characteristics of the system. So the energy dissipation characteristics of this isolator are of importance, and wherein the maximum displacement this isolator suffers during a particular level of earthquake is also of importance. And where and all we can provide these base isolators, they are of particular interest for us. They can be provided at the base of a building, or they can be provided at intermediate levels also. And there are floor isolation techniques in which these isolators are being provided at intermediate levels of the building. So basically the whole presentation is made in such a way that after this brief introduction of this isolation in buildings, where you can see the isolators are being placed at the foundation level, and how it has been placed. The construction practices are briefly described here, how they do even for existing buildings, not only for the buildings which are coming up or newly designed buildings, but it can be practiced for existing buildings. Then the same strategy can be practiced even at intermediate levels, or even for roof isolation systems are actually implemented in many of the places. So the basic presentation is divided into 4 or 5 categories, in which after this what we have seen right now is what are the basic requirements in which a base isolator has been basic requirements of a base isolator, and we can see some of the basic concepts in which this isolation system works. So before, I think you are all familiar with this kind of basic concepts like response spectrum, and how an idealized lumped mass system, when it is acted upon by the inertial forces, how the response will be calculated. An idealized system is represented through its stiffness, damping, and other characteristics. How the model damping characteristics or the model characteristics of the building influence the response of the structure. So you all will be knowing that response spectrum is a representation of the seismic response of a system, idealized single degree of freedom system. But it is a smooth response spectrum what we are using for an ensemble of earthquakes. That earthquakes, the typical accelerometers of various earthquakes can be of different types. There can be long duration or short duration events, or there can be near fault or subduction events, or normal earthquakes. So response spectrum provides you for the designers, listeners, it provides you the seismic force which can be imparted on a structure for a particular level of intensity of earthquake. So the intensity or the whole lot of structures are being classified in terms of its time period of the structure, and the y-axis represents the SA by B, or the spectral acceleration. So depending on the time period of the structure, the classification, the Hunter classification of structures comes under that. So the representation of the natural period, time period of the structure is the one which determines how much seismic force will be imparted on a structure. So in the designer's perspective, it will be easier for us to make use of the response spectrum and find out the seismic forces, and for those forces we can design the structure. For those forces we can design the structure so that the seismic earthquake resistant design of structures has been made. When you see this one, this is the velocity response of two accelerograms. Why this is important is when we talk about response spectrum, we are not worried about the type of earthquake or the accelerogram characteristics and all. But when you see the actual practice, the velocity response for two acceleograms are like this. Here A and B character, A is for a particular kind of earthquake. This is for another kind of earthquake wherein you can see a higher velocity response is observed. So these are two types of earthquake wherein it can be represented in terms of its energy characteristics. So the energy imparted to the structure will be different for these two types of earthquakes. So every earthquake is unique in nature, but for the designer's point of view, in order to make the process of design of structures simplified, we make use of this response spectrum. But we all will be knowing that there are other kinds of effect which comes into picture, like the soil effect. When you see the soft medium clay and sand, this is a typical example taken from the textbook. You can see there are variations in the spectral acceleration with respect to the time period. If you see the ratio between the spectral acceleration and maximum ground acceleration, there are variations. So the concept of response spectrum is not much dependent on the other factors. It is the one which tells you how much force will be imparted, or the horizontal force which will be imparted due to a particular level of earthquake. And we all will be knowing that there are different zonal classifications. Our whole of India is classified from zone 2 to zone 5. And there are different acceleration levels or the PGA levels associated with those zones. So I would like to skip these slides because you all will be much familiar with these kinds of representation. So, but of course, we'll be knowing that there are differences. There are differences between different kinds of earthquake accelerations, acceleograms, which are mainly due to the energy imparted to the structure. So here you can see this is a moderate size earthquake at small distance from the site, but a large earthquake at large distance from the site can be represented through this. So the area below this maybe it can be a representation of the energy imparted to the structure. But there are significant observations which can be learned from these kinds of response spectrum as well. But today what we'll be more concentrating on will be on the seismic design of structures with isolators. And of course, as and when we talk about the isolators which are provided below the superstructure, it has to be tested for various characteristics, the dynamic characteristics. So what are the dynamic characteristics which make them fit for the purpose? There should be a test on frequency, there should be tests on repeated cycling, and there are tests on rate dependent loading, temperature and other characteristics. And what are the maximum horizontal displacement and the compression stiffness, apart from the effects of aging and effects of creep. These are the main characteristics or the dynamic characteristics which need to be tested. And there are different standards which talks about that. There are international standards 2 to 6, 7, which talks about there are various parts. There are parts 1 to 4, which talks about different kinds of testing which are meant for isolators for various applications. They are meant for buildings, they are meant for bridges, and so many other things. So if you see the force displacement relationship and the isolation interface, this is the actual hysteretic behavior. This is idealized viscoelastic idealization, which definitely sir would have explained you very well yesterday. And what we will do, you will be knowing that isolators are meant for imparting horizontal and vertical stiffness at the intermediate level between the superstructure and the substructure. So how the vertical stiffness will be introduced through the introduction of steel plates or steel layers. So there will be a combination of rubber and steel plates. And in order to add the damping to the system, there are isolators wherein the lead plug has been introduced in the middle, which tries to provide more stability and the damping characteristics to the existing isolators. So this is a kind of test setup which has been developed here earlier. Our the earlier director, Dr. N. Lakshmanan, and our previous head of the department, Dr. K. Muthumani, Dr. Gopalakrishnan, and Satish Kumar, they were all involved in these kinds of testing setup which has been developed within the laboratory. You can see the isolator. There are 2 isolators which has been kept here, and you can see normally the isolators which are placed below the superstructure and the substructure will be subjected to a constant vertical load and maybe linear varying or can be non-linear as well, varying seismic demands or the lateral loading. So a test setup should be able to provide this kind of loading to the isolator. So you can see there are 2 isolators which has been kept here, and this varying load has been given to this. So this load will be varying, and a pre-tension. This is actually a pre-tension device setup, so that the axial load can be fixed for a particular loading case, or it can even be varied. So this is the typical setup which has been provided for the purpose. You can see the isolators which has been provided, which will be subjected to this lateral loading and a constant or varying axial loading. So this is a typical force displacement hysteretic curves obtained on the prototype laminated rubber bearing. This prototype laminated rubber bearing has been designed and developed by CRC, and the product has been made by the people who are very familiar with the processing of rubber and other there are chemical or heat treatment processes which are involved in which by which the steel plates are fully vulcanized with the rubber layers. So this, after the test, you will be able to arrive at the force displacement characteristics of this isolator, which is shown here for varying type of loadings. So this is a kind of cyclic test, you can say, but it is not fully, it is a quasi-static testing which is done. And you can see there are shapeable testing which has been performed on these types of isolators. So this is a product which has been developed in SCRC for the purpose, and you can see there are component level testing as well as prototype testing has been carried out on structures. So the product consists of steel shims which prevents the rubber from bulging out, and it increases the vertical stiffness. So the lead core is introduced at the center, which yield at very small levels of lateral displacement, and hence it increases the damping characteristics of the system. So if you see the response spectrum pseudo acceleration characteristics of this, with the introduction of the period shift in the structure, the seismic response characteristics have been improved, in the sense acceleration has been reduced or the damping characteristics have been increased. So the seismic based isolation is an effective method for filtering out the high frequency components in an earthquake. The characteristics of the input ground motion, it is getting quantified by the response spectral acceleration. So they normally they diminish at low frequencies or at high time periods, which are typical of base isolated structures. Here you can see the behavior of the system when it is plotted with respect to the displacement and the time period of the structure. So as it increases the damping, you can see the seismic response also get reduces. And now when you move on to the caudal provisions, what are the caudal provisions? Though till now there were no caudal provisions, especially meant for isolated, base isolated structures in India, but now the new caudal provisions are under publication. And when we talk about seismic codes, of course, there are various caudal provisions in and around the globe, Eurocode provisions, American caudal provisions. And now when we try to bring Indian caudal provisions, of course, we need to have a relook on the other caudal provisions or the other caudal practices, because in Peninsular India, it's not, earthquakes are not very common, even though there are incidences of earthquake. But there are other countries like Japan, America, and all. It's very like it's very common. Earthquakes are very. Japan, they used to say that happens every day. They are very familiar with those. So in those countries, those systems have been developed. So seismic codes, when we talk about seismic codes, they are unique to a particular region or country, because they take into account the local seismology, accepted level of seismic risk. There are different kinds of building typologies associated with different countries, or there are different configurations. Materials and methods used in construction vary. So they are prescriptive. Seismic codes are prescriptive in nature. It helps the designers to bring out safe construction practices. So the earthquake safety is something which lies in the proper usage of the code of provisions, and there should be a robust mechanism which enforces and implements these design code of provisions in the actual construction. So these some of the few slides which I would like to skip, but these are some of the terms which we should be familiar with. They are the model mass, the mass of the structure which is effective in one particular natural mode of vibration. So when we take this response spectrum into consideration, they are the response spectrum which has been developed for a idealized single degree of freedom system. So many of the civil engineering structures, they are mainly in the category where it belongs to the acceleration sensitive or the velocity sensitive region of the spectrum. There we'll be much more interested, the civil engineering structures will be much more interested in the natural frequency, or the frequency or the time period which is associated with the initial few modes. But when we talk about tall buildings and other things, there are in the long period region of the spectrum, their higher modes also will be of importance. So model mass is something which is associated with the natural mode of vibration. For example, if you see these are some of the things which has been taken from the course which has been provided by IIT Kanpur, by Sudhir K. Jain. Dr. Sudhir K. Jain, professor, has given a wide explanation of different kinds of terms which are associated with that. If you take example of model mass, there are in this 3 degree of freedom system, you can see the 5% damping is assumed in all the modes. Undamped natural period of the whole response of the system. Undamped natural period is represented in the x-axis. Here, the maximum acceleration is represented in the y-axis for a 5% damping. The response spectra will look like this. And if you see the different modes, the time period of the system varies. The initial mode is 0.6 seconds. So the model mass associated with is something like this. So the base shear associated with that has been compared with the other modes. So all these examples are there in the notes or other documents which have been published already by IIT Kanpur. You can have a look at that. And effective seismic weight is something which often comes in the new caudal provisions also. The seismic weight, which we take into account due to the dead load and the service load and the live load. And the recent caudal provisions, instead of 25% live load, we are supposed to consider 50% live load. And when you talk about the analysis, there are different kinds of analysis. The earlier caudal provisions were using equal and lateral force procedures, and depending on the regular, irregular, or regular structures, equivalent lateral force procedures also has certain limitations. So probably we may have to go into some other kinds of analysis, response spectrum analysis or time history analysis. Time history analysis, of course, computationally intensive. It requires lot of other inputs are as well. It is not quite easy as the other equivalent lateral force procedure, but of course, where and all we should use these kinds of analysis are very much clear in the latest Codal Provisions IS 1893-2016. Probably you can have a look on that. And there are terms like center of rigidity and center of stiffness. There are static eccentricity and dynamic eccentricity. There are accidental eccentricity, which has been the allocation for that has been also provided. There are dual systems which we need to be considered. So then there are moment resisting frames of different categories. So IS 13920, the Codal provisions are also getting upgraded even for RC as well as the now the new steel building code also are coming up now. So maybe in few months it will get published. So these are some of the terms which are associated with that: soft story, weak story, all those definitions should be familiar before we move on to the actual practices. Then there are story drift limitations. So basically, these are all meant for having a seismically safe construction construction practices. Then when we talk about this design of isolators and all, it is not only the horizontal component, but the vertical component also has importance. Normally, vertical component is not taken into consideration many of the engineering practices, but because it has an allowance, because the structure itself has a weight, so you can consider that around 1g acceleration level it has been taken into account due to the weight of the structure. But if the structure is subjected to an acceleration level above this, maybe around 1.2 g, maybe an additional 0.2 g also may be considered, or a reduction on that. So at particular level or a different kind of earthquake requires a different perspective in characterization of dynamic characterization of the building. So nowadays the Codal provisions also takes into account the vertical acceleration effects as well. So our isolators, the base isolators also need to be characterized for those kinds of vertical acceleration effects. So now, you will be very familiar with this concept of response reduction factor. The response reduction factor is an empirical factor, we can say, but inherently its genesis relates to the ductility characteristics or the redundancy characteristics of the structure, or it can be associated with the overstrength of the structure. So, response reduction factor is one thing wherein you try to associate the different material characteristics or the system characteristics so that the seismic response of the system will be associated with that empirical factor R or the response reduction factor. So when we move on to this IS 1893 part 6, this is a standard which covers the requirements of a base isolated building. So if you see the Codal provisions, they are meant for monolithic RC buildings and conventional steel frame buildings, and it is not meant for buildings with flat slabs or with precast structural elements. The provisions of this standard are applicable for buildings that are base isolated, and when the site period of the structure is around 0.8 seconds or more, base isolated buildings shall not be built. That is also mentioned somewhere within the code. So when the site period of the structure or normally our whole of India has been classified into various zones, and you will be knowing the zone factors and all. But there are constructions which are of higher importance where we need to do a site-specific analysis in that particular category of structures, wherein you find that the site period of that particular area is more than 0.8 seconds, where it belongs to a long period category of the structure. kinds of base isolated buildings are not recommended as far as the standard is concerned. Probably we may have to go in for specialized literature on that aspect. So these are some of the few important points which we need to keep in mind, because they are applicable only to monolithic RC buildings and conventional steel frame buildings. Though base isolation practices have been made at various levels of the building, our code, the part 6 which is coming up, talks about isolators which are being kept at a particular level, which is at the base of the building, that is above the foundation or below the superstructure. So the base level of the building is defined as the level of building above the base isolation system. So the isolation system is normally, we know that they are horizontally flexible and they are vertically stiff. So they are designed to permit a specified value of lateral displacement at the base of the building during earthquake, and it has to dissipate energy under cyclic loading. So the code attempts to minimize the damage to base isolated buildings and contents. It is not meant for reducing the cost. That also should be kept in mind. So normally we will have that in mind, that when we go for base isolated building, the cost of the building, it may reduce, it may definitely reduce, but the purpose of having base isolation is not meant for reducing the cost of the building. It is to reduce the seismic response of the building, especially and down that region of the spectrum wherein it is an energy sensitive region or the acceleration sensitive region or velocity sensitive region of the spectrum. So when you impart base isolators to the building, the time period of the building of course changes, and that time period, of course, when it goes beyond certain category, they are not advocated at this point of time. As far as the quadrille provisions are concerned, you may have to go in for specialized literature for that purpose. So the standard provides guidelines for estimation of lateral force and displacement to be considered in the design of buildings with base isolators. They are meant for moderate to severe earthquake ground shaking. So in the preparation of this standard, what are the other codes which are considered? They are European standards, International Building Code (IBC). Then there are ASCE 7/2016. So most of the design practices or the terms which have been taken are adopted from American this ASCE 7/2016, which is a very good quadrille practice as of now, because all these parameters which are associated with base isolators have been listed in chapter 17 of that quadrille provision. Then there are other provisions for testing of isolators. This is ISO 22762. There are 4 parts for this, and this describes the various tests which has to be performed for isolators, elastomeric isolators, for different applications, whether it is to be on the for buildings or for bridges and all. The code of practice, which Indian practice IS 1893 part 6 talks about buildings, not meant for bridges. Maybe in the future edition we may be talking about that. But this ISO 22762 talks about various tests to be performed for qualification as well as quantification of these isolator parameters. And there are other codes, international codes, which talks about this topic is SEMA code 751. There are Japan notifications, Japan code provisions on that, on land infrastructure and transport. So our codal provisions, wherein you can see that though isolators can be placed at various levels of the building, we have restricted our application to the region wherein these isolators have been placed below the superstructure or above the foundation. You can see they are at the same level. So the requirements of isolators you have seen earlier, they should be stable and they should not sustain any significant degradation even after repeated cycling. So probably an earthquake, it may consist of different number of cycles. It can go up to 200 cycles, or sometimes it may be few 10 or 20 cycles, something like that. So the isolator which we are designing should be capable of withstanding those repeated cycles without significant degradation. So this caudal provision has to be read along with the general caudal provisions part 1 also. IS 1893 part 1 has to be read along with these caudal provisions, and the response spectrum which is provided in part 1 is made use of here as well. As far as the stability of base isolator is concerned, you can see that the stability of base isolator, here you can see that the base shear without using the response reduction factor has been considered, wherein the earthquake load effects are involved. Like factor of safety against overturning shall be minimum 1.4 and against sliding it should be 1.2. So for the purpose of estimation of the factor of safety, the earthquake load effects in the superstructure shall be estimated using elastic maximum base shear. That is, without elastic base shear means without using that means response reduction factor is equivalent to 1. So it is equal to zonal factor multiplied by this I into SA by G at the effective time period. We'll see what are the effective time periods and the effective seismic weight. Of course, this effective seismic weight is related to the seismic weight considering the dead load and the service load, the live load, 50% of the live load, all other imposed loads on the structure. Now, when we talk about the force displacement characteristics of the isolator, this is an idealized curve wherein you can see the effective stiffness of an isolator unit. How will you find out? This is based on the ratio of the force and the displacement, the cyclic positive, the maximum positive and negative excursions have been taken into account. With this expression, you can find out the effective stiffness of the isolator, and as far as effective damping is considered, it is the energy dissipated within the loop. So it can be idealized into the form of this elliptical form of representation 2 by pi energy within the loop divided by effective stiffness and the displacement associated with that. They are the peak test displacements. So this is the provision which has been given in ASC 7 2016. So the same has been adopted in our caudal provision also, because that belongs to the testing requirements of the isolator. So what comes out from this is the characteristics of the dynamic characteristics of the isolator, wherein you are able to find out what are the maximum displacement and what is the energy dissipation characteristics of the isolator. From that, you can derive the effective stiffness, the effective damping of the system, because they are very important as far as the seismic response of the structure is considered. So the methods of analysis as far as our Indian caudal provisions are concerned, there are two methods of structural analysis which can be employed for this purpose, base isolated buildings. It has been mentioned that there are linear equivalent static single mode method and multi-mode method, or the linear response spectrum method. Non-linear response spectral history analysis, they shall be used for checking the adequacy of the design of base isolated buildings, that is mentioned. So the adequacy of different types of analysis methods are described in IS 1893 part 1 2016. And what are the types of analysis which can be used for different types of buildings? It is mentioned in the part 1. So when you talk about this linear equivalent static single mode method, it's a linear static analysis procedure wherein we use the effective stiffness and damping, which is derived as discussed earlier. This method assumes the lateral displacements are designed to occur in the base isolation system. The method is used for both superstructure and the base isolation system of the buildings. So there are upper bound limits as well as lower bound limits as far as the isolator characteristics have been concerned. So we need to check for both lower bound as well as the upper bound characteristics of the isolators. So the conditions for use for this method, there are certain conditions for the use of for the design of this base isolated building. Without performing dynamic analysis, this method can be used for design of base isolated buildings without performing dynamic analysis to confirm the acceptable behavior if the building satisfies all of the following. That is, it is not located within 20 kilometers away from the active fault, resting on soil type 1 and 2 as per the part 1 specifications. It is less than 20 meters in height above the base isolation interface. It has effective natural period equal to or less than 3 seconds. So this method of linear equivalent static single method, these are the conditions to be followed. Then when we go for this linear equivalent static multi-mode method, we need to follow the other clauses which will be described further. Then what should be the design displacement of the base isolation system? So this is defined at the base isolation the isolator interface, where the lateral earthquake displacement along each of its principal planned direction, they are estimated with this expression. You can see it is nothing but the minimum lateral earthquake displacement. So minimum lateral earthquake displacement is represented through the quantity which we get from the response spectrum at the effective time period of the structure, multiplied by the zone factor, again with the damping. So this times the acceleration due to gravity, this is multiplied with the factor which is associated with the natural frequency of the building, or the effective natural frequency of the building. That is T effective. This is maximum T effective square by 4 pi square, wherein you can see the damping multiplier beta. Beta is again empirically based on the researches which have been carried out on this topic on various isolators and different materials which are used for isolators. This damping has been provided by this expression, which is equivalent to 0.1 divided by 0.05 beta effective. This beta effective is a term which is associated with the effective damping of the system. Of course, this effective damping has been provided by the test which has been carried out on isolators. So, but they are standardized. As long as you get products which are standardized, these values also you can get based on the manuals. Wherein the products have been supplied on the suppliers. So the effective damping is a term which is associated with the dynamic characteristics of the isolator, which has been tested for the purpose. Then when it comes to the effective natural period of the base isolated building, of course, this is something which we are interested. Effective natural period is dependent on the effective seismic wave, which we have already described, and the effective stiffness of the system. And the design displacement of the base isolator is found out based on this displacement delta SB, which we have found out based on the other characteristics of the system, based on the zone factor and the response characteristics, everything, which is taken here. Then the design displacement of the base isolator is given by this term, wherein this factor is multiplied by the term, wherein you can see the term E is associated with the additional multiplication term, which is associated with the eccentricity or the dimensions of the building. So which takes into account the torsional effects as well. So the components of the base isolation system and the structural elements below the base isolation system of the base isolator building shall be designed to resist along each principal planned direction, at least for the design earthquake lateral force, which is estimated by the effective stiffness multiplied by the delta ST, which has been calculated earlier. Then when it comes to the base shear, structural elements above the base isolation system of the base isolated building, it has to be designed at least to resist along every time this is along each principal planned direction, it is the direction in which the design earthquake based shear force is acting, then it has been reduced by a response reduction factor. So when it goes to the superstructure, there is an allowance which is given by the response reduction factor. So the response reduction factor is again, it is different kinds of structures have been classified as per the table 9 of part 1 IS 1893 part 1. But uh, there is a limitation. It is better response reduction factor of the base isolated building should be minimum of this one 3/4 of that R or 2, whichever is minimum. So there is a limitation of 2 you can see here. Minimum lateral design force along the direction of shaking should not be less than this or this. So this limitation also has to be kept in mind when you go for design of the building. Then when we go for analysis of the building, when we go for modeling of base isolated building, in the structural analysis, the lateral force resisting of the portion of the building above the base isolation, there are there are 4 categories in which one is the superstructure, then the base isolation system, below the base isolation system, and the four-soil foundation subsystem. Many of the times when we go for analysis of the building, we assume that the structure is fixed at base, and when we design for base isolators, for the foundation level, we should not consider any of the response reduction factor. And when you assume the building as a fixed base isolated structure, whatever comes as the reactions or the responses from that has to be utilized for the design of the foundation. And all the other changes happens to the design of the superstructure. Isolator system also has to be designed with a lot of care, because isolation system should have the effective stiffness characteristics and the damping characteristics to follow. So even though you get a standardized isolator with definite effective stiffness characteristics or the effective damping characteristics, it is the designer's job to judiciously select the number of isolators, provided required locations, and design the superstructure according to those specifications. So that lies in the hand of good design engineer. So the fundamental mode of a base isolated building in the direction of shaking is not greater than smaller of the effective damping of the base isolation system, or 25% of the critical damping is specified in the code. The same specification also you can see in AC 7 2016 as well. So the higher mode shall be selected consistent with those appropriate for linear response spectrum analysis of the part of the building above the base isolation system, assuming it to be a fixed base building. Now when you come to the design earthquake lateral force, the components of the base isolation system, what should be the lateral force for the components of the isolation system? Columns, steps, and foundation elements below the isolation system. As I have already told you, this is a wording which has been given in the code. It should be designed to resist the forces estimated in the superstructure, considering the building to be a fixed base one without any response reduction factor applied in this estimation. Now we can see some of the earlier projects wherein these kinds of isolation devices have been practiced long back. You can see design of the isolation system were made for even for nuclear power plants. Nuclear steam supply system made by Milan, Italy. They have used where in this site is characterized by a TGA value of 0.3 G, you can see, and the displacement is around 100 mm. There are 99 elastomeric isolators of high damping rubber bearings have been utilized for the purpose, where the diameter of the isolator, each one is around 1 meter, 1 to 1.3 meters. The shear modulus of the isolator is around 0.4 MPa, and the total rubber height is 100 mm. So this is a kind of isolators which have been practiced in other countries. even long back, even for nuclear power plants. There are buildings which are provided with isolators in China, and there are other industrial structures wherein isolation systems are being implemented. In India also, after the Bhuj earthquake, probably the Bhuj hospital building has been constructed on isolators. They are isolators, they are imported from other countries like New Zealand. So the hospital building in Bhuj is resting on those isolators. You can see, but we have the technology of making the isolators indigenously, making the rubber isolators, so that with a reduced cost probably we can go for this technique, and it is a widely accepted technique, and as far as the model provisions are coming up, definitely it will have uh, lot of scope for construction of our buildings. You can see even in basement columns they are provided. Basement column, you can see this place is accessible. In some of the books I've read that in other developed countries, systems are available in which even an existing structure can be equipped with base isolators. Somewhere Milton Library building where the isolators are being provided even without the knowledge of people using the library. So that is a sophisticated level of construction practice which is available in other countries so as to provide these kinds of isolators. If we provide these isolators on the basement columns, you can see that the place will be accessible for repair. Maybe after few earthquakes, if some of the isolators goes off, because it's a sharing system, there are so many isolators to take up the load, and if some of the isolators uh, goes off, you can access this area and replace those isolators without much difficulty. And till now, what we were talking about is on base isolators made with elastomer components, elastomers. There are other isolation systems like friction pendulum systems, which works on yielding of metals or friction between the two metal plates, and there will be rolling system here. And there are other kinds of systems which have been practiced long back. Our laboratory have witnessed these kinds of testing wherein the whole building were resting on rollers. You can see there are restraints provided on either side on the whole periphery of the building. Here you can see that they are all concrete balls, very tough concrete balls probably, so that it should not get crushed during the process of higher intensity earthquake. These devices were designed, these rollers were designed for this purpose of providing a rolling kind of system so that it decouples the superstructure and the substructure. So this was tested long back in our laboratory in the uniaxial shear cable test facility. So these are all isolation systems. It is not only the elastomeric isolator system, but the systems which are very prevalent throughout the globe is the one wherein the base isolation systems were made with rubber isolators, and there are other kinds of isolators like friction pendulum systems and other kinds of isolators which are coming up. The Codal Practice IS 1893 Part 6 talks about isolation systems, not for all kinds of isolation system. It is generally restricted to a particular kind of isolation system where the isolator properties are being characterized in terms of its stiffness, effective stiffness and effective damping characteristics. So these are some of the test results, test setup which we have used earlier. Of course, you have seen those results and with the setup yesterday. The video was shown by Satish sir regarding the testing of these isolators or the testing of the structures with isolators. So there will be a reduction in storage drift, or there will be a reduction in other engineering parameters like acceleration levels, or there will be, of course, there will be changes in the natural frequency or the time period of the structure, which of course reduces the seismic responses. And there are, you can see there are roof isolation practices also. This is one such building wherein roof isolation practice are being used in Armenia. Then the isolation systems, not only for new buildings or construction, it is meant for retrofit purpose as well. So in this Auckland City Hall, which was damaged after a particular earthquake, which has been retrofitted using isolators. So it is found to be one of the most economical and effective methods for base isolation. So the earthquake response for the Auckland City Hall were made. If it was fixed base, the building would have been reflected like this. This is one of the mode shapes, which is quite damaging. But when the building is provided with base isolators, there were 111 rubber isolation bearings and with 36 of them with lead cores. These 36 lead core isolators are meant to provide higher damping to the system. So it is not only the laminated rubber bearing, if you are able to provide higher damping to the system through some means, it will be really helpful. So this Auckland City Hall was made with 111 rubber isolation bearings, in which 36 were lead core bearings. So you can see how the response changes when it is fitted with isolators. So as far as this structure was concerned, the critical construction issues also were there. Temporary lateral bracing during construction period to safeguard against possible earthquake occurrence. Symmetric work sequence was important to reduce the possibility. So there were a lot of risks associated during the construction practice or while implementing this strategy of base isolators. So those also has to be taken care. So that is why a very skilled labor or a very good practice, construction practice also should be available for such retrofitting purposes. Similarly, the San Francisco City Hall, which was built in 1950, it has also been retrofitted with kind of isolators. After the Loma Prieta earthquake, which happened during 1918, an earthquake, this building suffered a lot of damages, and it has been retrofitted with isolators. So as far as this building is concerned, there were various options were available to retrofit the structure. This option A was base isolation. Here you can see if you provide base isolator, the amount of acceleration level in which it suffers is 0.17 G at the base. Here it is 0.23 G. So here you may require a minimum superstructure reconstruction. When it goes to the option B, fixed base with shear walls, here you can see 0.2 G is the this may be inelastic acceleration level. Here it increases to 0.65 G when it goes, because this is something like it tries to stiffen the system to a certain extent. So here you may require a long reconstruction, and there are other interior impact also. So when you construct a building, it is not only the building frame. When you design the building frame, of course, you have to design the building frame in such a way that it should be safe against earthquakes. It should have a well planned earthquake resisting system. But at the same time, the contents within the structure also matters a lot for specific buildings. So that is why the research on the area of non-structural components are of importance. They are of very important. They are of importance in case of industrial buildings. Very important in sense of hospital buildings and other kinds of buildings, wherein non-structural components plays a major role. So for the repair or retrofit of the San Francisco City Hall, which was built in 1915, there were lots of options available, in which one was base isolation, the others are described here. One is fixed base with shear walls, then there are fixed base with braced frames. Here you can see after analysis of the whole structure, you can see how the variation in the acceleration levels. So the 0.2 g acceleration levels, here again it is 0.65 g. It is very similar to this case where you have fixed base with shear walls, here where fixed base with brace frames. This is particular for this building. It is not a generalized opinion about all the buildings. For this building, it so happened that fixed base with brace frames and shear walls, it is almost, they have a similar impact. But when you have a fixed base with flexible story, you can see that the acceleration level gets reduced, so that you may end up with a lower story reconstruction. Storing of the building is another it's a huge task or a very challenging task to be considered when you make a flexible story. So a base isolation system should have enough lateral stiffness and vertical stiffness in order to make the whole system perform well during earthquake. So out of all the options, the one which follows the base isolation is considered to be the one which is more suitable, mainly because the acceleration levels at the base are getting reduced a lot. You can see that 0.23 g is the acceleration level above this, you can see. And it requires minimum superstructure reconstruction because the acceleration levels are less. So based on the results of the analysis, the base isolation scheme was selected as the best making for the retrofit objectives. And it is one of the it is one of the best chosen strategy for seismic response control. Yeah, with this I would like to wind up the session. If you have queries on this, you can definitely ask. To the extent possible, I will be able to share my knowledge on this particular area.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear participants, please unmute and ask any questions that you may have. Mr. Sami Abbas, can you please unmute and ask your question?
Hello, madam.
Hello. Yeah.
How we can design for base isolation? If base isolation is used, then how can we account for the earthquake loads? As per base isolation, the resultant forces decreases. So, is there a requirement of taking the complete earthquake load as per codes?
Okay, the question what I understood was base isolators. Without base isolators, how to can you please repeat the question? Like if you have base isolator, can we design the building? Can we design the building as if there is no base isolator? Hello, hello, Abbas.
Base isolator, can we decrease the earthquake loads?
Of course, we can reduce
But you
we can.
Decreases. So
Yeah,
can we decrease the?
Yeah, we have to see the correlation. If you go to the here, if you see, it of course changes the time period of the structure. So when you have an elongated time period, if you see the response spectrum, here you can see when you adopt base isolation for a particular building which belongs to this region of the spectrum, your time period of the building changes. So as the time period changes, what will be the factor or the SA by G value which you consider for that building time period? It will be much lesser. So definitely when you implement this base isolation scheme for a structure, your superstructure can be designed for a lesser force. Is it clear to you?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Ma'am, regarding that hospital building in Gujarat, where they have used the base isolators, which is the code they followed, ma'am, while designing the characteristics of isolator?
Which is the? Sorry,
Uh,
you want to apply that base isolation scheme for a hospital building?
No, ma'am. In Gujarat, they have
Okay.
actually used base isolator for hospital building,
Yeah,
wherein
yeah.
characteristics
When
of
they have
base
used the base
isolators.
isolators, which actually it happened soon after the Bhuj earthquake in 2001. It happened maybe after the earthquake. This is one such strategy which they found that which is quite efficient to reduce the seismic load on the whole building superstructure. So the isolators are placed at various locations around the building, and these isolators were important because as such in India, isolators, standardized form of isolators are not available in India. Though the research is progressing on that field, standardized because standardization or the quality, the quantification, all those things matter. So isolators as such are not available in India. So at that point of time, isolators were imported from New Zealand, and they have made use of those isolators in the hospital building. So maybe probably like they are functioning well. Maybe a test for such thing probably is how we cannot test the actual structure. No, the actual test is probably another earthquake may tell us that how its performance was. Maybe it will not be affected by another significant intensity earthquake.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Ma'am, I want to ask you about, ma'am, if I'm using some new material for base isolation, what all steps I need to do for manufacturing a base isolator?
For manufacturing. Yeah.
Manufacturing.
Regarding manufacturing of, okay. These are the, like, when you see the test for isolators,
Okay.
am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. There are various tests which can be performed on isolators. They are basically test on frequency because earthquake excursion is a cyclic kind of cyclic phenomena in which positive and negative cycles will be there, and moreover, they are most of the earthquakes belongs to a certain category of frequency. The frequency ranges are there. Even if we consider a broadband, there should be a frequency, a test on frequency minimum up to maybe up to 3 hertz, 0.25 to 3 hertz. So they are the test on frequency. There should be repeated cycling. It may undergo different various cycles of motion, like in the sense an earthquake of a long duration, a significant duration, it has to undergo a minimum of 20 to 60 cycles or maximum up to 200 cycles. So repeated cycling test is another requirement. Then rate dependent loading. This rate dependent loading is one in which suppose in case if the earthquake energy which is imparted to the structure is so huge, in the case of a near fault earthquake or a very high velocity earthquake, then rate dependence also come into picture. Then there should be tests on creep and shrinkage and other aging parameters of the structure because normally the isolators which are there normally the service life of isolator is one thing which we need to be taken care, though it has not been specified in the codal provisions, but minimum of 30 to 60 years, that is what it has been specified in other country codal provisions. So in order to meet those requirements, there should be test on that aging characteristics, there should be test on temperature as well. So these are the test requirements, and a detailed description of the test requirements are there in ISO, that is International Standard 22672. There are various parts. Out of that, one part is specifically meant for test on isolators. And the hysteretic, the energy dissipation characteristics is one thing, wherein as far as a structural engineer's viewpoint, this is of much importance. The other parameters are highly significant as far as the manufacturer's point of view, because it should be stable and it should have a good amount of, it should have quite service life, repeated energy absorption characteristics, all those things. This also has much more relevance as far as the damping of the system and the effective stiffness of the system is considered. So these are the tests which are required for isolators.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, I have one more question. Right now, how do we design base isolator for a building?
How do we design base isolator?
For a building.
Yeah. Base isolator. Yeah. Designing of base isolators are, you can follow the steps provided in slide 4. We need to find out what is the effective time period of the structure. For example, for which structure you are going to have this base isolation. Because in the response spectrum, you need to identify the structure where it belongs to. That should be the first step you should do. Like whether you are going to have a base isolator for a building. Because if you see the spectrum, our Indian spectrum as per IS 1893 part 1, you can see the response spectrum up to now it has been, the time period has been increased from 4 to 6 seconds. Earlier it was up to 4 seconds. So beyond, if you see the caudal provisions, beyond 0.8 second when the site period, or the site period means the time period which is belonging to the area or at the soil level, it has a time period. But as far as the structure is concerned, where in the spectrum it belongs to is of higher importance. So you need to identify where you are going to have the structure. Then after finding out the time period, so you can follow the procedures which has been given here in order to find the effective time period, which is again dependent upon the zone factor and the importance factor. Here you can consider R equal to 1, which is the elastic time period. Then follow the instructions which has been given in the here you can see effective natural period of the base isolated building. The seismic wave has been considered. Here design displacement of the base isolation is found out, but for this we need to identify this effective time period of the system. So damping is identified. You know SA by G at that effective time period. You know the zone factor. You know what should be the damping percentage to be adopted, because this damping percentage of course comes with the manufacturers. The one who makes the base isolator will be knowing what should be the amount of damping of the base isolator. But the other parameters like the zone factor, SA by G and the T effective. T effective is also we need to calculate. T effective is dependent upon the effective seismic weight. This seismic weight consists of the dead load and the live load and the other imposed loads. Then K effective is the effective stiffness of the isolator. So as far as the isolator characteristics are concerned, T effective is the one which you are finding out. Damping and K effective, the isolator characteristics will provide you. But SA by G you can get from the response spectrum. Zone factor also you can find out where structure is going to be. So based on that, you can roughly calculate what should be the base shear, which you need to consider. The minimum as well as the maximum also should be checked for adequacy of the link. So these are the procedures by which you can find out what should be the minimum design lateral force and what can be the maximum lateral force, considering the all other worst case scenario. Considering you need to consider the additional terms due to torsional effects, all those things. So with that, the superstructure can be designed for a lesser force. But the substructure, the foundation has to be designed as if the whole structure is modeled and with a fixed base. And for that, whatever forces or moments which are coming up from that analysis, that has to be used for the design of the foundation. So this is how it should be designed.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, madam.
Hello? Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning. Yeah. So I'm Suhasini Madekar, COEP, College of Engineering, Pune, Maharashtra.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Sir, madam, you mentioned about that part 6 of IS 1893.
Sorry?
Part 6 of IS 1893, base isolation.
Yeah, the code is under publication and it will be coming soon.
It will be published soon.
Yeah, it will be published soon.
Yeah. Okay. So there will be some training also arranged, no, for because not everyone is aware about the
Yeah,
technology.
there will be training arranged by DAS and other, of course, the chairman for all IS 1893, CVR Murthy and other senior colleagues who are involved in such publication scheme, they will be definitely arranging training program, I believe.
Yeah. Madam, but these isolators, where are they manufactured in India if we want to implement this technology?
As of now, as I told you, there are researches which is taking place in various parts of the country. Out of which you can see that ICRC was also part of that. Various these isolators were designed, indigenously designed and made in the country, and those design charts, all those things will be mentioned in the border provisions as well. So as far as the manufacturers are concerned, I don't have a clear idea about those things, but of course, maybe in the future, standardized qualification, that means certified isolators, certified base isolators will be available in the country to make,
Yes, yes.
to facilitate this process of construction.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, there is another question in the chat box. Is there any opportunity for students to conduct the experiments at SCRC?
Experiments at SCRC of right now, like I'm not the authority to tell that. You can contact the concerned division. You can go through the website and contact director and other senior colleagues concerned. You can go to the website. You can see the experimental facilities which are there in SCRC. Probably you can contact the concerned people and inquire about that. For students, I think there are college students are coming here to do their project work, final semester project work and all. You can definitely inquire about that.
Thank you, ma'am. So it was a very interesting session on seismic base isolation. You have given a very good introduction to seismic base isolation with several examples of seismically base isolated buildings in India and in the world. And you have also given an introduction to the forthcoming part 6 of IS Codal provision for base isolated building. I'm sure all the participants have benefited tremendously from your presentation, and I'm sure it will help all of us in our research. Thank you very much for your detailed assistance.
One question, ma'am. Please excuse me. Radhika, ma'am, one
Oh,
question.
okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, good
Yes,
morning.
ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, regarding yesterday, Satish Kumar sir has talked about you have actually come up with an isolator or a damper wherein that wires, tension wires are used, wherein it is capable of taking only tension, and for something he was talking about, sir. Can you please?
Yeah. Actually, it's not. It has been used for as a damping device. It's a seismic damper. You can say that it's a seismic
Yes.
damper to dissipate the earthquake energy. It has been tried in many of the single degree of freedom system and 3 degree of freedom system using the shake table facility, and component testing levels also have been done here in HERC. There are a variety of devices made out of those material. Of course, they can be implemented as a damper to many of the can be used for many of the structural applications.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So if there are no questions,
So thank you. I would like to wind up right now, and thank you so much for the opportunity given. Of course, based on your questions and other inputs, I would like to improve my knowledge on this in this field. So thank you so much for the one opportunity which was provided. Thanks to the organizers as well as your patient hearing as well. Thanks a lot.
thank you very much, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation and for sparing the time to deliver a lecture in our FTP. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, dear participants, please join for the next session at 11:30 a.m. in the separate link. Yes,
Madam,
ma'am.
feedback link for this session.
It has been posted in the chat box, ma'am.
Actually, I got disconnected.
Yes,
Will
ma'am,
you
I
please
posted
post
again.
it? Please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.